I need some excitement. So getting in the gym, spending time on the machines, like getting stronger this year and mastering a new skill set, that's what's exciting to me right now. So that's why like I'm kind of moving away from OCR. It's not just for like, selfish reasons of not getting paid, because it's kind of always been that way. It is what it is.
I am going to put
So
for the thumbnail for this video, or maybe a clip of this, just a picture of you and "I'm poor" in big giant letters.
you could do that, because that's still true.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to the YouTube channel. I've got a great talk with one Veejay Jones here today. Veejay is a champion in Spartan. He's a champion at the Adventure OCRWC race, and I wanted to get him on the horn and talk about the big news. Spartan acquired OCRWC. There'll be a lot more content coming from this. I've got lots of questions for the folks over at Spartan that I will be asking, and some more interviews to do with athletes. You can hear this entire podcast up on the podcast feed, but this is just the part about OCRWC, and then we get into some of Veejay's life and the whole podcast. You can get into that over on the feed. But let's get to it. Away we go.
Okay, huge news. Spartan Race has acquired OCRWC. The race we know is the Obstacle Racing World Championships. It's been happening since 2014. And I wanted to get on the line with someone who has participated at Spartan races, at other brands races, at both World Championships. So on the line with me, the current 3K OCRWC World Champion and the current Pan American 3K World Champion. Is that what you just won?
Yeah, clearly.
It's Veejay Jones, who, and thinking about getting on this call, we all think of Veejay as the young guy, as the newcomer. He's not. He's been here for a decade. He's just still really young.
Yeah, I started way too soon. I got in as a child. I was taken advantage of in my youth and thrust into this Spartan pro team. And yeah, it took over my life. So I'm going to turn 25 next month, and I've been doing this for a very long time.
So what were your first thoughts this morning when you read on your Instagram via Obstacle Racing Media, the bestest, breakingest news company out there? What did you think?
So originally when I first saw it, I was like, yeah, old news, whatever. And then I kind of read it again and I was like, oh, they own it now. Not like we're collaborating and they're going to have some input and whatever. Like they own that shit. So yeah, that was new. I mean, I don't really know where they go from here, like what their plans are as far as owning the Obstacle Course Racing World Championships. What this tells me is that they want to not have a Spartan Race World Championship. They want to make the OCR World Championship the Spartan World Championship of sorts, and Spartan Race qualifies you for the OCR Worlds. But as like there's a new federated World Championship, they're like, I don't know, maybe they want to have their own. Because in every interview, anybody from Spartan Race has always been like, what do you think about getting OCR into the Olympics? And they're like, I'd love to see Spartan Race in the Olympics. Never once have they been like, OCR needs to be in the Olympics. They're like, Spartan Race this or Spartan Race that. So, yeah, interesting. I'm not sure. I'm sure the great mind and of Matt B. Davis will be able to suss out what's going on here and talk to some insiders. And yeah.
So here's my thoughts. When they merged, when the announcement from Mammoth came, I thought, well, this is the beginning of the end for Adrian. The guy has done an unbelievable job. When they started in 2014, I was as skeptical as anybody. I was like, whatever, everybody thinks there's something. you know, they're going to put on something. And then he gathered all these small brands and got them together and put on this race. And then every year we saw it grow, when we saw the prize money grow up until recently. And it was like, yeah, do you want to be a Spartan world champ, or do you want to be an obstacle racing world champ? And you could do both, but most didn't pick. And, you know, obviously elite numbers going down, COVID hurting it. How much longer can one guy, and he's got business partners, but how long can one guy keep this up before he throws in the towel and says, I can do other things with my time and money? Because, you know, he's not just a guy that puts on the race, he's emotionally invested. He gets just as excited, mad, frustrated as we all do when shit happens, right? When there's controversy, when there's whatever with the news. So I kind of saw this coming. I think a lot of us did. And so it's like, okay, you gave it a great valiant effort, Adrian. We understand. The question is, what does it mean when Spartan Race, aka Joe DeSena, owns Spartan Race, owns Tough Mudder, owns the OCR World Championship, right? What does that mean if all roads of the sport lead to one guy? That's the question I think we need to ask ourselves. Is that good or bad?
Well, based on my experience in you know, growing up and playing games with my family, when you own all of a commodity or something like that, it's usually known as a monopoly. So with that in mind, you know, that's what I think of. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, as far as Europe is concerned, I don't think this really affects them all that much, because they have a lot of different styles of racing, and the federation's very heavily involved over there. And there's a lot of different brands that are still active there, at least from what I see. As far as the North American market, it's pretty much one dude now, or one organization. So yeah, should be interesting. I mean, Savage basically has a really good opportunity to become something. You know, everyone's kind of over what the new pro format is for Spartan Race. It's confusing, and it's not as exciting as I think people hoped it would be. Plus, like, as far as broadcasting, things kind of dropped the ball, and it kind of lost the heart of it. So Savage Race, you know, they teed it up for you. You got an opportunity here to really capitalize. So I'm hoping that you do. You got a shot here. Come on now.
So the first FISO World Obstacle World Championships just happened.
Yeah,
we've been talking about them for years. They've been behind the scenes. This pentathlon thing is happening. How can we get to the Olympics? All that aside, they put on a world championship, just like Adventure, just like Spartan. I've heard mixed reviews. Most of the reviews I heard were hopeful. Like, they didn't want to say, like, it was kind of a shit show. It was more just like, hey, first year, definitely some problems, which is like code for, I think it was kind of, if not a shit show, at least really messy. And again, first year, I will give them a little bit of a pass, even though they basically had 10 years to put it on. Stuff like, we don't know the night before what our race time is. That's not really an acceptable problem to have. Things not being quite built yet, not really an acceptable problem. Like, that stuff you should have nailed. But that's what I kind of heard. And then the weekend happened. My question is to you is, why did you not go? Did you ever want to go? Was it that it wasn't an unproven event? Was it that it was really far away? Why did you, one of the best obstacle racers in the world, choose not to go?
So, as some people may have picked up on, I'm poor, and and being poor comes with its drawbacks, right? So when someone reaches out to you and says, congratulations, you've been selected to represent the USA in Belgium, you must pay us to join our organization. You must pay for the uniforms that will be provided. You must pay your entry fees. You must pay your lodging, your flights, all of that. You're welcome. I was kind of like, that just doesn't work for me. Now, normally, yeah, like if I had some sponsors and like my career was going well, I would have been on board. I would have been right there, racing and throwing down to win another world title, because that's what I like to do. But I don't know. I think a lot of things went into it. One, financially, it was just not going to happen this year, a trip like that. And if I'm going to pay big money to do an international trip this year, I'm going to go to Spartan Worlds, where they're paying out $20,000, because I can actually get a little return on that investment, because it's basically coming out of my pocket this year. I don't have any sponsors. So that was mostly the decision. I just couldn't really afford it. I had a rough winter financially. So there's that. Plus, I started to kind of dabble in the hybrid racing thing earlier this year. Started focusing on Decafit and trying to build a Hyrox base. And after kind of getting into it and experimenting with this, I realized you cannot be competitive in this space without going all in on it. And that's something that, I don't want to show up and be a chump. I want to come out and be competitive. So looking at trying to build for Hyrox takes all of your time and focus. Like my last 3 months of training have been Hyrox base building. That's it. I did a Decafit this past weekend. Didn't do any Decafit training, just Hyrox. I'm probably going to show up to Spartan Worlds with like 2 weeks of prep, but Hyrox training. And going to Europe to race them on their kind of course, you need to be doing European OCR training. You need to be on obstacles all the time. You got to be dialing in on that. And that's just not what I'm doing. I'm pushing sleds and rowing more than I'm, doing
if you
obstacle stuff these days.
But if you showed up for the short course, let's say
Yeah.
if you showed up to Belgium this year for the short course, you still have enough, or I feel like you still have enough muscle memory that you could go through the obstacles fairly quickly. No?
Yeah. I don't doubt that at all.
You were one of the best obstaclers that we had, right?
Yeah.
Some people are just super fast, but still need, technique work or just take less chances. Or I feel like it could have been perhaps worth it.
So I don't mean to sound cocky here, but if I was going to show up to this race, I would have put in a training block for it and I would have won it. Just because that's what I would have wanted to do. I feel confident on obstacles. And when I prep for them and I prep for that style of racing, like I come in confident that I'm the best in the world. And that's just how I feel about it. But it didn't really work out for me this year. And it kind of is what it is. I'm not like too upset about it or anything. I didn't really know much about the event. I didn't know exactly what was going on. I had a kind of gist of the rules and what we were going to see there, but I didn't know they were streaming it at all. I didn't know that happened until afterwards. And they were like, oh, you can pay no, I think there was like, you could pay $1 to watch it or something.
Where?
But I didn't even, dude, I don't know. I still don't know. I just heard that you could watch it.
Okay. I mailed the organization asking them for streaming info, payouts, a couple of other who was going, didn't respond. Then I've emailed them about this second place business and what, can you give me an answer? Like they don't write me back, which is fascinating to think that they don't write back probably the one guy that does the most news in the sport, if not the only guy that does a lot of it. So weird, but but getting back to this idea of where this all is for the sport, I feel like you and others like you have a real decision to make, right? Like what do you want to do? Because it feels like The sports side is really hurting financially. And again, with Joe owning all of it, I'm not sure that's a great thing. I've said multiple times, the open side is fine. Thousands are showing up week in, week out to do these Spartan races. You know, you can register now for races all over the world. For Spartan and Tough Mudder, their 2024 dates are out. But from the sports side, without payouts and without any kind of TV contract, it's just sort of like, why would someone go? So I think you and many others have to think about, what do you want to do? Do I want to go all in on this High Rocks DECA thing? And what are there other events that might come around? Or do I want to continue to become an obstacle racer?
I think OCR is going to have a renaissance in the next couple of years, to where basically we're probably going to see, on the elite side at least, a return to like a 2015, because that was what everyone seems to long for. That's what brought like passion from the athletes, and it brought this kind of like the mystique around it, where it was like so tough in the mountains and then so tough on the obstacles and the grit. I mean, the obstacles weren't that hard in 2015, to be fair. All the old heads that are like, you don't know what racing was like then. Like, okay, bro, like half of the elite field.
Yeah, I used to be able to make it through with no burpees. So what does that tell you?
That you were a stud? That you were a stud? Were never,
no, the first rig showed up, I was like, whoa, what's this thing? This isn't just a wall I can jump over.
I think half the elite field failed that rig the first time it showed up in like 2015 or
they
whatever.
Did. They lost their fucking mind. Like, what's going on?
You'll know
at
the finish line, dude. Anyway, I think like something along the lines of like a blend of what Savage Race has going, and then, you know, those old harder courses, the actual trail and mountain running style of it. I think that's what's going to bring it back. But ultimately, like I said last time we were here, we just need some content, some entertainment in this space to engage people, because everything's internet based now. Every brand that I've spoken to this year about like sponsoring me for next year, they are somewhat interested in my like athletic endeavors and how competitive of an athlete I am, and that I have world titles. They're like, wow, that's cool. Like, what's your content like? How many followers you got on TikTok? So that's just the nature of the industry right now. And if you want to get people interacting, you gotta cater to those eyeballs. And yeah, I think OCR was really growing when we were building characters, and you knew who like Robert Killian was, and you knew who Cody Moat was, and you had them on TV talking about like, you know, that wall was really hard, and then I had to, you know, consider my options for the next wall because, you know, I was cramping or whatever. Things like that.
Listen, the courses were really hard and you never knew the distance, right? So imagine showing up in Tahoe for a 13 miler and it's 16. Like, that's a big difference.
Oh, I did.
Oh, you did that year? Did you finish 20th?
I showed up to that one that turned out to be like 17 miles.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a good way to run the sport, but I'm just telling you that was the biggest obstacle. Virginia was really fucking hard. I just posted about the Asheville Super. That was really hard. Killington was a nightmare. Like, it was definitely grittier that way. But yes,
for sure.
I think we knew it needed to get standardized if you do want to build a sport. But this is why I'm kind of fascinated that Joe is the guy who said, we need a pro team. This needs to be a sport. He did the deal with NBC. But now putting less and less money into it and thinking that's the way to somehow sustain it. And I know he keeps saying COVID, but I don't see him stopping using that as an excuse anytime soon. What if I told you, by the way, you talked about the 3K, I've said since day one, maybe they don't even do it next year. I'm not saying they won't, but I've been saying that because they've changed, you know, the pro team every year, the parameters, the series was pretty much the same. We knew it was 5 or 6 races, but have you heard anything? It's September 20th. Have they announced Jacksonville, home of OCR, as the first series race next year yet?
No, they haven't told you anything. They'll tell you a week before you needed to qualify for this race. We emailed 6 people last year about the qualification standards, and they no longer work for the company. So that's just how it is, and we'll see what happens. Like, I really want to take more of a content position in OCR. I'd love to help out with broadcasting. I want to talk to athletes. I want to kind of, that was one thing I've always wanted to do, but it felt weird to try to like speak to other athletes and try to create content like that while being an athlete. Like, imagine I cross the finish line and I turn around and I'm like, Atkins, how'd that race go for you?
Right.
Give me a sound bite, man.
Right.
How was it out there? You got second. Who was in front of you? Right.
Oh,
so I
me.
can't.
It was
can't
me.
really. Oh, that was me. Sorry. Yeah, you'll get them next time. So I couldn't really do that. So that's what I'm looking to do in this coming year. I've heard some rumors from unknown people, just putting my, what do you call it? Your ear to the ground, something like that.
Right.
But I've heard some stuff about possibly seeing the 3K next year, but mixed in with some other races as well. As part, I don't know if it'll be a series or if you'll just have like championship level races, maybe not a point series. I don't know. I'd like to just see competitive races.
But you were one of the first ones to say the 3K series suits me better than most, but I'm still not going to do the whole series. Do you remember saying that?
Well, I mean, I don't think I've not, executed on that plan.
But
right?
Why not, though, I guess, if it suits you, if it suits your skills over a guy like, say, Atkins, who's a grinder and a mountain dude?
Because I haven't been paid since last year. I'm like, straight up, I am working a 9 to 5 right now, okay? And I save up money above my rent and my insurance and whatever, and then whatever money I save, I spend it on getting to these events. And then I get to the event and I win it, and I don't get the money from that, and now I'm just back to like the same spot that I was at. Okay, so now like the savings that I made, now I don't have it again.
So why are you going back to Abu Dhabi? So why are you going back to Abu Dhabi?
Because I feel like a delayed $20,000 payment is okay, right? 20 grand. You know how far that goes in my life? That's how much I make a year, dude. That's insane. So, yeah, and then I can really throw a fit. I can be like, you owe me $28,000 instead of being like, bro, you owe me 8 grand. It's like $28,000. And then we cross from
$8,000 is a lot of money to a lot of people.
That goes a long way for your boy, no lie. So anyway,
most people listening to this podcast or watching this video, $8,000 would be at least a couple of months, if not 3, of their life.
That's at least 6 boxes of cereal.
Take me out of the equation. Take me and my decision to have too many children out of the equation. And now we have a fucking cat too, but that's neither here nor there.
God dang.
It's the bunny, like you have to buy the lettuce for the bunny and the fucking hay and pee pads for the bunny because it pees everywhere. Anyway.
Yeah.
My choices aside, $8,000 is a fair amount of money. So did they pay you from Abu Dhabi last year?
No.
How long would you be willing to go before you finally said, I'm not going to race your races anymore?
I honestly probably won't race any more races after the World Championships this year. I just like, they made a 3K, which I'm kind of good at, like 3Ks, and they're paying $20,000 for 20 minutes of racing. I'm good at that, willing to kind of take the chance on that.
Wait a minute, did you win last year?
And then that's probably it.
Did you win last year?
No, I was still battling parasite stuff. I got
Albin won, right? Oh, Albin
or something. No,
it wasn't Atkins, was it?
No, it was Sergey. Yeah.
And then Atkins was second again.
Yeah, that's his thing. He should get a 2 tattooed on him. It'd be pretty sweet. Yeah, so I'm looking at that. Probably going to be taking a step back from OCR. I still want to be involved, but I don't necessarily want to be an athlete. And that's not necessarily because of all the money stuff and, the sport's changed. Like, I still like the sport. I still watch all the races. I'm close and following what's going on. I just want to take a different position in the sport. And like you said, I've been doing this for a long time. So looking at like my personal pursuits, I don't like trail running and pull-ups as much as I used to. Like I don't wake up and I'm like, man, I can't wait to go jog for 90 minutes. Yes. Like I need some excitement. So getting in the gym, spending time on the machines, like getting stronger this year and mastering a new skill set. That's what's exciting to me right now. So that's why like I'm kind of moving away from OCR. It's not just for like, selfish reasons of not getting paid, because it's kind of always been that way. It is what it is.
I am going to
So
put for the thumbnail for this video, or maybe a clip of this, just a picture of you and "I'm poor" in big giant letters.
you could do that, because that's still true.
You and I